Hey there guys and gals, welcome back to Back Pocket Game Reviews, and today, well, we're talking about GameStop. It was brought to my attention by RGT85. There is a thing called GameStop pop culture stores. So we're gonna kind of dive into this because I was with GameStop for a long time, and I kind of actually have, I think, a little more insight to shine on this. So usually with test stores or stores that they really first want to try out, they try them out in Texas because, well, that's where they're headquartered. If you go into Texas, there's some crazy two-story huge GameStops there. However, if you happen to go to Mall of America, there is a crazy GameStop pop culture store. And you might ask yourself, what in the Sam's hell is a GameStop pop culture store? It's sort of like if ThinkGeek really just decided to double the size of a GameStop, stick it in there and spooge and make a love child, you get a GameStop pop culture. It is even more stuff though than just ThinkGeek. I mean, we're talking some comics, we're talking giant Iron Man suit at the entrance, among other things, but that's really what stood out. And while I do think collectibles could help GameStop, I don't necessarily know if doubling down that much is gonna really save it. I mean, obviously you are kind of creating like a gaming mecca, a geeky mecca. However, if we remember and recall back to the days of Toys R Us, back far, far long ago, to Toys R Us. At one point in time, Toys R Us had a bunch of collectibles. I know, because at this point in time, I was debating on dropping $60 to buy the Green Ranger, Dragon Zord, Dagger. I mean, it was a really swell looking replica of it, and I didn't buy it. I also debated on buying Saba, which was the White Ranger sword at the time. Long story. I didn't wind up buying either one of them. This is like shortly after me and the wife had just had our kids, well, our first kid, and obviously I wasn't exactly in the best financial of situations to go and make a stupid purchase like buying a Green Ranger dagger. Still sounds like a stupid decision. Like when I say it out loud, I'm like, I'm an adult and I just said this, but it is what it is. But if you don't remember, well, Toys R Us started slimming down those collectibles. So keep in mind, I get it, a lot of people probably didn't go super out of their way to go to Toys R Us, but Toys R Us had a really large selection at one point, and this is before GameStop really even ever carried a lot of collectibles. And unfortunately, Toys R Us started slimming them down before GameStop really even got into that business, before ThinkGeek started having these hybrid stores or even their own standalone stores. So if that business was so successful, if that was something that was generating a lot of revenue for Toys R Us, why would they slim it down? So that makes me think, to some extent, no, I'm wrong, I understand nostalgia sells. Just told you how I wanted to buy some Power Ranger weapons. I totally would have put them on display too. It would have been so sexy. I know, I'm lame. So, once we move past that, once we look through there, and obviously if this wasn't really making that impact, is that really going to be the thing to save GameStop? Well, and so there's only one of these pop culture stores. You got one, and it's in Mall of America, which is a huge mall. So this could even just be a single run store. They may never intend on doing multiples, but at one point in time there was a Christmas where they actually ran a test store called GameStop Kids. Yeah. Carried a whole bunch of kids games, like Minecraft weapons and stuff like that. This is like at the peak of the Minecraft craze. Again, I'm old, worked for GameStop for a while. Yeah, GameStop Kids. It was a test store. People who did really well at GameStop Kids, GameStop would actually take a lot of them into their stores and take them as employees. But it's not the only time GameStop ever has done this. GameStop has done a lot of different test stores. At one point in time, GameStop actually had stores that only sold used iDevices. Well, and other, like Android too, but iDevice was really like the big one. And they even did iPhone repairs. I have not heard about one of those stores since like the 2 test stores. So I'm gonna go ahead and safely assume, well, that probably failed for them too. Now, GameStop Kids was kind of like a niche thing, and they actually did it as these stalls inside of malls. So you'd see just like a stall inside of a mall. I'm turning into Dr. Seuss now, and this stall would have all this kid stuff on it. So essentially it was them testing the water to really see where this would go. And the odd part was these would be in malls that already had GameStops in them, because GameStop really likes to do these kind of weird things. And that is something they are starting to cut back on. If there's one right inside of a mall, now you're not starting to see one right outside of the mall. If there's one right outside the mall, you're starting to not see one inside the mall. And that's smart, because over time they've just been stealing business from each other. So opening these test stores so close together is literally just making your own 2 stores fight it out with each other. They are now competing with each other for sales. And again, I don't know if this is necessarily going to be something that they're going to open up past Mall of America. I mean, Mall of America is one of the largest malls, and you do hear malls are dying pretty consistently. I do think it is a smarter move for GameStop to slim down. I mean, as I said, I have 3 GameStops in 5 miles in like 2 to 3 different directions. It's like insane. So those stores are technically all competing with each other for sales, and I get it, it's a convenience factor, and hey, we're everywhere, we're just like Walmart, you can't turn a corner without seeing us, but to the same extent, how much of that is hurting your business now, especially with games going a lot towards the digital side. I mean, we're at a point where like 60 to 70% of most game sales come from digital, which eventually your trade-in business is gonna die if that much of it's going to digital, and you just got so many different faceted issues right now coming at them from all sides. I don't blame them for trying something new. I just don't know if this is going to be something that's really gonna take off and something that's really gonna save this company. And honestly, judging from what I've been reading recently, a lot of investors have also started to agree that GameStop's better days are behind them, especially after what they claimed for their 3rd quarter earnings. So this pop culture store, from what I gather too, is a little over a month or 2 old. I have never personally been to one. I can't even find like a lot of great like images of what's inside of them. I'm gonna assume it still works just like a normal GameStop store, and obviously GameStop even has standalone ThinkGeek stores. And they did plan on expanding those pretty greatly at one point. That kind of slowed to a halt. Now, they're just, well, letting ThinkGeek put it up inside their womb. It's right in there. It's like a little nerdy baby just living right inside the comfort of the GameStop store, just feeding right on it. And I do hope that GameStop does figure something out to obviously progress and survive through all of their particular issues currently, but if their main focus stays on games, chances are they're not going to survive. Especially if it stays on current day games. And if it goes to past, like days of the past games, like retro, you also run the risk of those sales fluctuate. There are times and months and stuff where different retro games sell better than others. And there's times where retro games don't really sell at all. So you could run into essentially then creating a bigger bubble. And once that bubble pops, goodbye company. There's just so many different issues and no real easy way to fix it. I do agree with creating like the gaming mecca could be like the way to go, but you got to do a lot more than just add collectibles. I mean, it needs to be like a spot where geeks can go to hang out and commiserate and meet other geeky people. You don't want it to turn into like a geeky dating place though. That you kind of probably want to avoid, because it's going to be a whole room of awkward. Whole room. You'll have people trying on clothing in there and weird stuff. Guys, I don't really know what's going to fix GameStop, and I don't really know if this pop culture store is going to be more than a one-off store. I mean, GameStop has had plenty of random stores. I mean, hell, they have stores that are 2 stories and sell TVs too. None of them ever seem to take off or become these huge instances, and this could just really be them testing the water with comic books, because they did say they want to bring comic books to the store. And I fully agree with turning into this geeky mecca, but their stores and the real estate they currently have is not set up for that. They would need to start investing in, well, bigger stores, and I don't really think they have a lot of money to be investing right now, not after the losses that they claimed. But, I mean, maybe if you shut down 2 stores in an area and then just expand one, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to expand your more expensive one, because the one that's doing better probably has other stores surrounding it too, so there's no real area to buy up. I mean, it is a risky gamble either way they go at this point with this idea. But I do feel larger real estate would have probably been helpful, especially for their end game. The game that they played was very short-sighted and very quick-handed. It was, let's make some money. Don't get me wrong, that should always be your goal as a company, is to make money. But you should also be concerned and worried about the future of the company, where that company is going to go, how stockholders are going to feel about your company. Do they feel confident putting money in? So I am curious what you guys think, though, down in the comments down below. You can tell me your deepest, darkest thoughts about GameStop pop culture. Don't go too dark, please. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a thumbs up. You can also share this video with your friends. That actually is very appreciated, and thank you to those of you who do. If you want to follow me anywhere else, links are as always in the description box, including my Patreon, PSN ID, Xbox Live, everything I have is in there, okay? Even my social security number, go look. Also, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to click that subscribe button. You can ding that little bell, and well, that's essentially like putting a ring on it. Get it? Because bells ring. Guys, I will see you all soon, and I will have plenty more content coming for you.